Welcome, welcome everybody to this week's Cafecito. I hope you guys are enjoying yourself wherever you are in the world. It's raining over here, down here in South Florida. So this Cafecito is like perfect afternoon, because ya me estaba poniendo a little bit like, oh God, it's making me sleepy. But welcome everybody to this episode. We have a great topic today. It's going to be personal growth and development. We have Annie Grogan as our guest for today. Welcome, Annie. How are
Hi,
you?
how are you, Sandra?
I am doing great. So you're in Jacksonville.
I
Uh,
am.
do you guys have sunny weather? Yeah, it looks like it's sunny over there.
No, actually,
No?
it's raining
Really?
here as well. It's raining
Okay.
here as well.
All right.
And I
So
think we're going to get that for a couple of days.
yeah, that's good. I love the rain. I don't know. I'm one of those people that like when it rains, I feel more productive. I don't know. I feel like the earth is being quenched and I feel I'm being quenched. So
That's a good analogy. That I prefer the sunshine, though.
yeah, I
I
know.
prefer the sunshine.
I'm in South Florida and it's 90% sunshine. And then
Yes,
I
yeah.
treasure the rain.
We get the cold weather up here, so it's we actually do get, you get to wear boots and jeans and jackets
Lucky.
up here, so.
Lucky, lucky, lucky. So, I want to get into our topic today, Annie. I want everybody to know a little bit of your backstory. I know you started a nonprofit. Tell us a little bit about that journey of starting your nonprofit and then how we're going to lead into what today's core topic is. But we want to know about that because I know
Well,
it's difficult to do all
yeah.
of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have over 20 years of HR experience, and prior to me kind of departing that career path, I was doing a very interesting job working for Best Buy company, and I was basically an enterprise project manager working on diversity recruiting initiatives for the corporation. Because as the company evolved and as we started going into new markets, it was evident that the company really wanted to focus on DE&I initiatives, and recruiting, people from all sorts of backgrounds was really becoming relevant and important for us to, capture market share. And so I was basically traveling the whole, United States, attending and representing Best Buy at many national conferences that were directly related to professional development organizations. And I'm talking about organizations like Black MBA, National Association of Black MBAs, National Association of Hispanic MBAs, National Association of Asian American Professionals. There's all sorts of national organizations that really cater to various subgroups, right, in the labor force. And part of the reason why they exist is because these groups or these associations really know a lot about the challenges that particular groups, have in the workforce, whether you're disabled, whether you're a woman, whether you're a minority. And these organizations really play an important role, not only, for the individuals that are members, the actual membership, but also for the organizations that tend to tie themselves to these organizations, because it's a win-win for everybody. But mostly because, the membership, they get to hear topics that are relevant to, hey, how do you progress in your career, right? As a woman, what are some of the challenges that you would typically face in corporate America? How do you overcome those challenges? Or if you're a minority or disabled. So you're getting that knowledge, and you're getting not only an opportunity to understand how to maneuver those things, but again, as the corporations who typically sponsor or attend many of these events that are hosted by these organizations, now you're getting an opportunity to network with representatives of those organizations. They're getting an opportunity to understand more and more what are some of those challenges, so they can go back and take that knowledge and take that information to help their organization develop strategies that will continue to attract people within those subgroups. So really important. I mean, that particular position just opened my eyes to a whole different world and a whole different topic that I was not privy to before, even as an HR professional. So to me, it was a wonderful experience. And when you have these organizations locally, or chapters that represent these organizations in the local market gets to benefit a lot, because again, you have the employers that are part of the companies that are trying to recruit from that particular labor force to show up and get to meet these talented individuals that are all part of this membership. So that's kind of where I sort of learned this concept.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you're also finding that the organizations are doing the training work within their current employees, not just sourcing new talent.
Absolutely, absolutely. They go back and they take this information, they
Yeah,
share the experiences. They oftentimes bring representatives from their own,
great.
like for example, ERGs, and we'll get to
Exactly.
that topic later. But
Hmm.
again, just a great networking opportunity and learning opportunity to, just which kind of just leads to all sorts of other things.
I love it. I love it. So I know why many of us are passionate about like personal growth. Why are you so passionate about it? Like, is it through this experience or combination of things?
I think a combination of things. My background not only includes HR, but it also includes 10 years of military experience as a commissioned officer, where you're every single day, every minute of the day, you're in a leadership role and you're having to, be in charge or be responsible for people from all sorts of walks of life. And, as my career continued to progress, I myself, even when I was in the military or even when I was in my HR roles, not knowing, coming from a background, and I've watched your show many a times, and many of us, we are the first graduates from college, right? And we come from homes where maybe our parents never experienced what having a, college education was all about. Maybe they're doing jobs that don't really require a higher education, and
Yeah.
so you're growing up in environments where there's this huge gap, right? Where maybe as much as your parents love you, they can't really give you the information or the mentorship that
Correct.
oftentimes you can get when you come from a family where you already have a couple of generations of college graduates. So to me, as I continue to progress in my career, I started to realize how important mentorship is, how important it is to really think long term of your career so that you could kind of be in charge of it, or at least you could steer it in the direction that you want it to go. And there's lots of components that are part of making your career and setting yourself up for success and setting yourself up for promotions as you move along your trajectory. And so this is one of the reasons why professional development is so important to me, because I think that oftentimes many of our young people go into the workforce with lots of gaps. And then because not only do they start off with gaps, but then they don't go out and seek, right, these opportunities or these situations where they can actually gather this information, they're missing the boat again. So to me, that's part of why it's so important.
Yeah. I love that you brought up a lot of those things. It's funny because when my sister Diane graduated from college, like my two older siblings, they were rebels. They did not graduate. So the third of us, there was five of us. She graduated. And we're like, yeah, she's gonna take us somewhere. I don't know where. But as a little girl, I remember thinking like, oh my God, she graduated a university. She went to Rutgers, and she's very engaged in over there. But I want people to also take away, like, even though I can't wait to keep diving into the ERGs and all these other things. The idea that personal development, you don't have to necessarily take every single path that everybody else takes, right? Sometimes our journey takes us down a different path. I was a single mom, so I didn't have the luxury of being able to attend the university, but I was a seeker. Ever since I was a little girl, I was a seeker for knowledge. I wanted to know how the human brain works. I wanted to learn about spirituality. I wanted to learn why there was so much disparity amongst religions, when ultimately we all want peace and love, ideally, right?
Right.
So I love that you brought up that word, is being a seeker, going out there and seeking seeking knowledge of whatever it is, whether it is your own industry as well, right? Like, I remember also in our office, there was a group of women that were just doing their job. They went to work, they did their job. Latinas, I mean, we're talking about. Right. So they went and did their job, and I'm in a high position. I'm like, well, why is that? Why do you feel that that's your capacity? that's not your capacity, and you have to be hungry for something more. Otherwise, you're going to be miserable for the rest of your life if you don't learn to seek out things that are going to make you a better person.
Correct.
So I love that. So what is professional development?
Well, it's kind of what you said. It's purposefully and purposefully seeking opportunities and putting yourself in situations that will set you up for that next step in your career, wherever it is that you want your career to go, right? So you've got to be engaged. You have to be engaged. You have to own, right, your own career path. And that's not to say that everyone's career path is going to be linear, because, not only have I been in the military, have I been in HR, but, I started my own nonprofit, which actually put me in the heart and soul of the nonprofit sector.
Yeah.
And over the last, 7 to 8 years, I've been in economic development. So, I'm a perfect example of a person who doesn't have a linear career path, but every time I land in a particular industry or in a particular career path, I try to be proactive in whatever it is that I've got to do, right, to become distinguished or to set myself apart or to prove myself worthy, right, of being in that particular career field and building a brand that's solid, a personal brand that's solid.
Yep. I love that. I remember I used to always say, I still do to this day, is like, subscribe to those industry magazines. Go above and beyond, especially in whatever position that you have. Show that you have more to give. And I think that especially as Latinas, we have that intrinsically. There's like that flame of, we know we're so much capable of more, and yet that other, culture damage side, is the no, quédate aquí, this is your space, it's safe, but breaking free from that feeling of, this is my safe space, and start going bold and saying, I know I can give more. The only way to prove it is to go above and beyond, give more, so that you are worth more to the organization that you are working with, because that's how it starts. Then, that's people see you doing more. They see you more engaged with the things in the operations of an organization. Who are they going to tap into for questions? Who are they going to give responsibility to? You, the person that seems hungry to know the industry, the person that seems willing to really get it down and really understand that.
It's critical. It's critical. You hit the nail right on the head. You're absolutely right in everything that you said. Absolutely.
Awesome. We got some comments. There's something to be said about giving ourselves the permission to be seekers. Sometimes with the lack of education and mentorship, that's not a thought that happens through most first gens. I have grown the most thanks to mentors and coaches that pushed me, just like you said, to be a seeker.
Correct.
That was great, Gabby. Dr. Pat, professional development is asking and answering the question, what else is out there? Oh, I like that one. And how else can I challenge myself?
Correct.
I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that. How else can we challenge ourselves?
Yes. I'm
going to be thinking about that all the rest of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah. And professional, and one of the, at some point in time, we'll talk about, that relationship with mentors. When you connect with a mentor, mentors get a lot out of that relationship as well. People always think that, a mentor-mentee relationship is only about the mentee, but no. When you build those relationships, mentors get a lot, because they get to get inside your head as well, right? They get to see, what is your background? Where do your gaps exist, right? And that, like you said, motivates them to say, you know what, I think I can take you under my wing and I can help you, right, maneuver and steer your career or help you get ahead. So it's definitely not it's not a one-way relationship. It is definitely a two-way relationship. And that's why some corporations actually do reverse mentorship programs, where they try to put the emphasis on the mentor learning from the mentee, right? Because oftentimes when we get, into bigger roles, we start losing touch, right, with the people that are at the ground, and we start losing sight of how things evolve and how people evolve, how generations evolve. And so it's a great way for a mentor, right, to stay abreast of what's going on, what's the pulse of our people, what's the pulse of our employee base, right? So there's, again, just all sorts of benefits that come from that.
That's such a great point, because especially if you work in a very high, fast-paced atmosphere, it can be very like just numbers, what's going on, like just the management and operations of the business to really make it successful. So you can get, you can be going through something personally where no one has, taken the time to acknowledge, hey, she's not performing or he's not performing to what they were. Something must be off. There's maybe and it could be just a simple conversation of an acknowledgement of some sort. Yeah. So how do we find mentors? What are some ideas that you have found, or do you, how do you find mentors
Well,
mhm,
there's all sorts of ways that you can
mhm,
find mentors. Of course, probably the easiest way is if your organization has a recognized mentor-mentee program,
yeah,
that you can either volunteer to participate in, or that maybe your own supervisor says, "Hey, I want you to participate in this, and you're not, I'm not going to be your mentor. We want you to kind of, go out and get mentored by maybe someone else in another department." But
mhm,
again, you have to have, as you're going along in your career, you have to have some sort of sense of where you want to go personally, right?
yeah,
And especially, I mean, again, if you're working, different size corporations or companies offer different, opportunities. But let's say that you're working for one of the, a Fortune 500, right? So it's a big organization that has lots of divisions or departments. Where you see yourself going, or where you would want to go, would be a great place to start looking, right? And oftentimes, and this is probably the toughest part, is actually taking the initiative yourself, getting over this fear and just approaching someone and say, "Hey," and first and foremost, letting them know to say, "I have personal aspirations. I love my job. I love my company. I see a future for myself in this organization. And long term, I would like to be able to actually walk in your shoes, right? Have the position that you currently have, and that you're currently working. And I'm seeking a mentor, right?" And then approaching that person and saying, "Would you be willing to be my mentor?" Let me tell you, usually if you approach a person from that perspective, and you say to them, "I've identified you because you are showing me an example of who I want to be and where I want to get to." That's an extremely high flattering, right, comment or conversation to start off with someone. Typically, the person is going to be open to that. Again, depending on how busy they are, that's going to probably dictate how much time they can give you. But listen, if you can get 30 minutes once or twice a month with an individual, and begin that relationship of mentorship with them, that is a huge win, right? You're going to be getting firsthand knowledge and firsthand insight from this person who is walking again in the shoes that you want to be in. And so that's a great way. And then, of course, setting yourself up to be involved in other things. LinkedIn is a great place for you to find mentors, right? Same way, you approach them, with that sort of starter line, saying, "I've been watching you on LinkedIn. You have the job that I'm looking for. You're working for the company that I'm looking for." Again, just putting yourself out there and not being afraid to approach people first, to say to them, "You have something that I want and I need, and I'm just asking, would you
yeah.
consider doing that for me?" And most of the time they will.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. I remember when I was first started in corporate, I didn't have a mentor, and I used to like try to find, a mentor. I couldn't. So I love this conversation because it also, I want to bring up the fact that not everybody has resources to mentor. So then what do you do? So like I was sharing, what I did was I delved myself into industry knowledge. I wanted to know everything about how to be the best at my position and higher. I wanted to think like my CEO. I worked right alongside him to build this, and I wanted to get inside his mind. How does he come up with what he comes up with? You know,
Exactly.
and I spent
Exactly.
yeah, and I didn't have a particular mentor other than observing him. and observing his actions and observing how he handled phone calls and observing how he negotiated. And I learned so much. So, if you don't have, sometimes we don't have the right people around ourselves in corporations, but it's what do you do now? And it's the being observant of what you called it out there. Know what you want to do. Be observant to those attributes within someone else that inspire you, that you want to adopt. I want to be like that. I want to show up like that. I want to show up with that confidence. I want to show up with that certainty. How does that happen? It happens by knowing your work, knowing what you're, doing, getting involved in the industry. And I love that you mentioned, go out, network, meet people, have conversations out there. And then dive into books too, right?
Exactly.
That's what I did. I didn't have anybody. So I was reading.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what, and there are all kinds of organizations, like you've already mentioned. There's not only are there professional development organizations that cater to those specific groups, but then there's every single profession under the sun has a professional association. And that's one of the things, that's one of the best places for you to meet other people that are doing like or similar work that you're doing in your particular industry.
Yeah.
This is these in industry national associations are where you're going to be getting the latest and the greatest knowledge of what's happening in your industry, how your industry is evolving, right?
Yep.
And this is again where you're going to have an opportunity to meet people that are doing like work or similar work or are in your particular professional career path, right? Another thing is ERGs, right? We mentioned ERGs earlier. Listen, ERGs are a topic in and of themselves. I have lots of things to say about ERGs, but why should individuals join employee resource group or affinity groups? Different corporations call them or name them differently, but employee resource groups give you an opportunity to become visible, right, to the leadership within your organization. And lots of people again will join an ERG and they're not really familiar, depending on how well the organization is setting up their ERGs and setting people up for success. They might take the time to sort of do an orientation. But if your organization has ERGs and they don't do that, what you really need to know about ERGs is that ERGs are intended to do a couple of things. One is to give you visibility with leadership. Two, it is for you to become an active and engaged member in the long-term strategies, right? Impacting the bottom line of the corporation or the company, right? The whole idea of being part of an ERG is to represent your company in the community, to come up with strategic ideas or concepts that will impact the bottom line, and to help yourself again be recognized. I'll give you a perfect example. Oftentimes, and this is real live, experience that I've had. I'll be working with an ERG, a Hispanic ERG, and their big project for the year is the Hispanic Heritage Month luncheon, right? And then there's nothing more that they're particularly focused on or particularly engaging in, because they think that that's going to be sort of the be all end all event of the year that they're going to get credit for. Well, no, that's not the whole idea of ERGs. The whole idea of ERGs is saying, okay, as a company, how do we want to capture market share within the Latino community if you're part of the Latino ERG, right? So you've got to put on your business hat, right? And your business thinking cap on and say, okay, how can we as a group come up with ideas, whether it's marketing, whether it's product or services, whether it's anything like that, right, that is going to serve a purpose to impact the company's bottom line. And that's the way that you need to approach. And when you take that approach as a member of an ERG, now you're really making impact in the organization. Now people are really getting to see how you think as a business leader, right? And that's going to lead you to all kinds of open doors, because people are going to remember you. People are going to remember you as well. So lots of things, we could delve into that topic on another day, but that's the most important thing. The last thing that I will say is that Another thing that is highly important is volunteering in your community, right? Seek out volunteer opportunities with local nonprofits that are impacting your community, or even joining particular groups within maybe your local chamber of commerce, right? Usually there's a young professionals group within a chamber of commerce, or there's an IT group within a chamber of commerce, right? Or again, serving on boards. What makes these opportunities important? Again, it puts you out there. You and I have had conversations where oftentimes we'll go to a particular event in the community and we're the only Latinas present in the event, right? And we're looking around and we're saying, okay, where are my fellow Latinos here? How come they're not showing up, right? That sends a perception that is wrong, right, out into the community. Because if we're not engaged in our community, not only are we not meeting the people that are movers and shakers in our community, but we're also not showing that we're engaged, that we're involved, that we care, right?
Yep.
And not only that, but also if you, for example, if you serve on a board, right, or if you serve on a committee, you're exposing yourself. Well, what do boards of directors do? What's the purpose of a board of directors, right? How do they fit into this whole, topic of nonprofits, and how do they have to come to the table with leadership skills, right? All of this stuff starts becoming evident to you when you participate and you become engaged, right, in these sorts of activities within your own backyard. And that is also very, very important.
I love that. And Heidi put facts. It's facts. That
Absolutely.
was great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean, there's just all sorts of things. And when you put yourself out there, opportunities begin, doors begin to open, your network begins to grow. It's just this whole snowball effect that happens that is nothing but good. It's nothing but good.
I love it. I love it. There's that quote that I always think about. You can't be who you need to be by remaining who you are. We have to evolve, and that change and becoming and learning and investing in our own personal growth and development is so critical. And you can't waste time not doing it. You have to really invest. If you want to live a fulfilled life, a happy life, you have to know that you tapped yourself out. You have exhausted all resources to become and create the life that you want. It's too easy to stay comfortable, and we don't want anybody staying comfortable. And that's kind of that was what I had shared with you, is how United Latinas came into place. Is I didn't like not seeing Latinas when I was out networking. It was horrible. It was such a I'm the only one, and I was alone. So, I mean, I did my thing, but how much more in numbers when we're in numbers, how much more confident do we feel in a space? We just feel more connected, like people understand me, people have my back in such a way, And
Correct.
I think it's so important to get out there, and you are having a United Latinas event in
Yes,
Jacksonville. Let's make sure we
yes,
cover
yes,
that.
yes. We are going to launch a chapter here in Jacksonville. Our first event is scheduled for the last Thursday in January, and we're already working and making plans for that because, again, in a similar fashion, when I had my nonprofit here, which was actually called The Hill, the Hispanic Institute for Life and Leadership, and we were a professional development organization that was trying to help the Latino community be successful, right, and become more marketable in the labor force. And we were trying to help corporations, local corporations, connect to that talent. United Latina also has such a similar thread to it, right? It's about bringing Latinas together and helping Latinas evolve and helping Latinas show up, right? And giving Latinas, not only a network that they can count on and thrive from, and but helping them sort of, get out of your comfort zone and go out there and conquer. And that's why, when I discovered United Latinas, I was so excited. because, you guys have such a similar vision to what we were trying to do here before. And my personal opinion is that Latinas are running circles around Latinos. And so we tend, I notice that Latinas are, just showing up a little bit more aggressively. They're showing up more often. They want to get involved. It's just an innate part of who we are, and part of our culture, right? We always want to support and encourage, and I don't know, you know what I mean. But and so to me, Jacksonville is ripe for an organization like United Latinas. And I'm hoping that anybody and everybody who's watching today, that's from this particular region, that you guys will come out and join us when we do this event at the end of January. We want to start the new year, right? Everybody has new hopes and aspirations at the start of the new year. And so we're hoping that with our first event, and by creating a chapter and a movement here in Jacksonville, we're going to help a lot of Latinas get ahead in their careers and to get involved in the community. We need all hands on deck, right, to represent our community well and alive in our communities. So I'm just glad to be a part of what you guys are doing, Sandra. And I just want to thank you guys as well publicly for the work that you're doing, because I think it's very, very important. Very, very important.
Thank you. Thank you. I was like, I'm looking around for a mic. What you just said before, I'm like, I don't have one.
Absolutely. There you go.
Awesome. So we're at time. Thank you for sharing your expertise, fire, and lived experiences today. Thank you, Heidi. All right. So we'll close out. Any last closing statements, goodbyes? How can people connect with you? Make sure we have your LinkedIn on here. So make sure you connect with her on LinkedIn.
Just understand that you're always more than what you are, right? And just, you got to put yourself out there and take chances and approach people. When you approach people and you ask for their help, 99% of the time they're going to respond in a positive way, and that will get you started and help you overcome that fear. That's it.
I love it. Fear less and live more. That's how we're going to live our lives. Guys,
thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Annie, for joining me. This has been a great conversation. We still have comments coming in, so make sure you check those out on LinkedIn. Thank you, guys, and join us next week for another Cafecito. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Well.